Next up, we've got Magnetic Resources. The ASX code is MAU. George Sakaladis is the managing director, and there's been some exciting developments, ladies and gentlemen. So sit up and take some notice. George, over to you. Great to see you.
Yeah, morning, Kerry. Yeah, it's always good to catch up, and hopefully you'll feel good soon.
Yeah, bit of COVID. What's never going to stop us? So really interesting developments with Magnetic. So take us through, since we last spoke, some of the updates that are happening with you.
Well, there's updates in the field, and there's sort of corporate style updates as well. In the field, we've been aggressively drilling as we have been for quite a while. But there are 3 projects which are emerging. Some of them we know already: Hawksnest 9, Lady Julie 1. But there's another 2 that are emerging: Lady Julie 4 and Homeward Bound South. So all those projects have thickened intersections, and most of them start from surface. So that's really what you want to see, and we seem to be getting it at Lady Julie 1 and 4, Hawksnest 9, and Homeward Bound. So there is new information, and it's been brought in from all this drilling that we've been doing. So obviously those have been followed up, and there's a 5,000 metre program at Lady Julie, which is almost finished. And there's a 1,500 metre program at Homeward Bound, which will start once the drilling finishes at Lady Julie. So it's quite active in the field. There's been some superb results, and you can see in this page, there's 25 metres at 4.4 from 0 metres at Lady Julie 1. Yep. And underneath this, we hit 88 metres at 1.3 from 68. So there's been a large amount of pretty decent intersections, which makes these projects very robust.
And all fairly shallow. Are you going to be drilling any deeper than what you have been to see whether it goes down even deeper?
Yeah, there's about half a dozen holes around 200 metres that we're putting down. And there's also one only 360 metre hole which is going down in this current program. That information is going to feed back, and once we have those results, we'll be planning, well, at least 10 to 15 deeper holes plus 200 to 300 metres.
Yeah, and for those of you out there that don't know Magnetic, by the way, just to let you know, it's over in Western Australia. It's in a prolific gold belt. It's in and around Laverton region, which is an amazing jurisdiction for Magnetic. Yeah. Yeah,
Laverton's there's about 40 million ounces being found and being mined there. So it's second in size to Kalgoorlie. So Kalgoorlie is obviously bigger than that, but 40 million ounces is a lot. So and a lot of the mines themselves are getting bigger by putting down deeper holes.
Yeah.
And obviously that's the approach we'll be using as well.
So going forward, you're doing a lot of, so Lady Julie, you're almost finished the drilling there, and then it's going across to Hawksnest, is that correct?
No, to Homeward Bound South.
Homeward Bound, I beg your pardon, Homeward Bound. Yeah. So we got some details about Homeward Bound?
Yes, I'll stick to it. Okay, so we're talking about our projects, Hawksnest 9 and Lady Julie. They're 15k south of Laverton, but note they're very close to Goldfields Granny Smith processing plant, Dacian's Jupiter plant, that's 10, 15 k's away, and Sunrise Dam processing plant, 35 k's. So obviously there's a lot of interest in what we're doing. To the west of there is our Homeward Bound project, and note it's actually closer to Leonora. There's quite a bit of interest in the Homeward Bound project from people around Leonora, but nevertheless, that looks quite good, and I'll show you the picture. There's basically a shear zone called the Federation Shear, and there's about 3 to 4 k's of it that goes through our ground. On the northern part of it, we've got a kilometre strip where we've had some pretty decent hits, 20 metres at 3 grams, 25 at 1.3, 31 at 1. The thickness is what I'm interested in. Right. And so we'll be chasing these up in the program. It's actually 1,800 metres coming up. And you can see the little yellow dots. So that'll probably start in a week's time. So that's really an update on the actual projects. I'd like to give you a bit more update on Lady Julie, if I could.
Sure.
And Lady Julie is the one where we've had these amazing intersections. And you can see every one of those purple dots is a very high-grade intersection. And when you look at them in detail, you can see in this table 22 metres at 4 grams, 25 at 4, 16 at 5, 88 at 1.3, 18 at 4, 34 at 1.8, etc., etc. So that's why we're there. We're getting some amazing thick intersections. And, you know, these are probably the better intersections in the whole of Australia at the moment. Obviously, there's other good projects around. These rival some of those. So it's pretty exciting. And that's why we're...
Sorry, George, to interrupt you, but is that because of the thickness of the intersections, or when you say it rivals anything else that's in Australia at the moment, what is it that stand out, especially for us that aren't technically minded?
Okay, well, when we're talking about intersections, you can multiply it by the grade. So if you multiply, 22 times 4.1, you get 88. So that's a big number. If you get anything above 10 or 20, then it's good. These are pretty thick and good grade, and that's why 88 times 1.3 is over 100.
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera. So that's why when you're mining this, it's a big bulk, a big bulk area. You'll be mining the whole thing out. So it's very attractive for a mining proposition to have such thick and higher grade intersections. And clearly, they start from surface, then your costs will be quite low, and that's what we're seeing. So in this picture, you can see as you go to the east, it's dipping to the east, and it gets deeper here, but certainly not too deep. And that whole zone is shaping up. That's called the Lady Julie 1 project. Lady Julie 1, we're trying to connect it into an area to the south. And so there's more drill holes going in here. And most of the drilling is in this 1 kilometre strip to see whether we can enlarge the area. We are getting thickened intersections to the south. So if I show you that slide, basically that's the main area plus the second area. So we're trying to link them together. So that we call this the Lady Julie 1 project area. And the Lady Julie 4 area is way up north. And that's where we're getting some thick intersections as well. So we're following those up. So
is that part of all, sorry, Julie, is that all part of the same trend that where these are?
Yeah, so that's north-south trend here.
Okay.
For Lady Julie. So they're basically on these truss zones. And then Hawksets 9, the other deposit that we have, it's sitting to the west, but it's only about 3 k's to the west. It's not very far away. So that's the main change in the drilling at Lady Julie, and trying to expand these areas and join them together, and also put down the deeper holes, which we've talked to already, especially in these areas. Yeah, we mentioned thrusting before. These thrust zones themselves, they're quite deep. You can see these structures or thrusts, and that's the Lady Julie area. So we're currently working near the surface, but we're planning to go down deep. This is actually a prime area for the seismic people, where they interpreted this area as being one of the best targets that we have, and we're currently drilling some deeper holes into these. So that's really the progress on the drilling. The other thing that we mentioned briefly was the M&A, and we've always put in our slide, because we've got that strong interest from our neighbours. We've got 3 producing neighbours and another 2 producers in the region that are looking at it. So it's quite a bit of interest in what we're doing. But we finally got a hold of a very experienced M&A group called Jeffries, and they're based, I think they're overseas, international as well. They're basically going to help us in our endeavour to try to get some synergy with our neighbours in terms of potential M&A.
Well, I guess it's unlocking the value. But Jefferies, who are they? They're an investment bank, are they? Or they specialize in M&A? Just tell us a little bit about why this is important, not only for your current shareholders, but also, I think the important thing to note here, ladies and gentlemen, is that what George is looking at is unlocking the value for all shareholders. And so it's be interesting just to unpack that a little bit as to why the Jefferies appointment is important.
Yeah, well, firstly, there are 3 producing mines within 10 to 35k. So clearly it's not in our interest to spend another 200 million to build a plant when there's 3 there already. So that's just being practical.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's always been what I've said. It's always good to look near existing mines because you can find some big ore bodies. Then you've got to make the decision, do you build another plant? These plants are underutilised, and they also need ore for blending. So we're obviously in that position. We've got some fantastic ore, very good recoveries, very low sulfides, hardly any in fact. So fantastic material for blending. So we're in a good position. But at the same time, we've always thought, well, unlocking the value here, if these people are interested or others, having Jefferies, who are an international group, will be able to introduce us to other players as well to see truly what the scope of interest is. We believe there will be a lot of interest. There aren't many new discoveries like this starting from surface. So that will gain the attention of quite a few players. Jefferies wasn't the first group we looked at, but Jefferies are the group that we've ended up with them, and they seem very professional. The data rooms themselves are being set up as we speak. Probably within a week or 2, they'll be ready. And then we'll be starting to send documentation out to these interested parties. And it's quite exciting that we're finally in that process, and that will help unlock the value of what we have in this company. There is a lot of interest in our gold projects and a bit of interest in our nickel projects as well. But the main game is the nickel projects.
So one of the things that I think makes you stand apart, and what you mentioned just a moment ago, was the fact that this is all near surface, this gold. So from unlocking the value as well, the cost of it, and as you said, you've got some processing plants nearby. It's like you're in the sweet spot, isn't it? So for someone to come and have a look at this dirt, which is valuable, and to do a deal, looks like it could then, as you say, unlock further value for shareholders.
Yeah, the main cost is moving dirt, overburden, etc. So if you can minimise that, that makes any of these projects very attractive. We're in the current mode of expanding and getting it to as big as possible and testing the depth continuity. We'll be doing that as well as talking to these interested parties. So it'll be ongoing. At the same time, we're trying to get to a position where we can see what the interest really is.
But George, it's early days with Jefferies coming on board as I guess a financial advisor to look at unlocking the value. Are you looking at this as taking quite a substantial period of time, or talk to me about what the news flow is going to be for 2022 for magnetic?
Well, the news flow will be the drilling. Obviously, there'll be resource studies, scoping studies, and it'll be over the gold project and the nickel projects at our Julie lookalike project at training. And
can we speak it? Can you just show us a little bit about the Julie lookalike, because that's pretty interesting as well. I think this is something that some of our investors out there won't have seen before, and it's pretty interesting.
Okay, well, there's a little inset diagram. There's Perth.
Yep.
The Julie discovery is just north of Perth, maybe 50 k's, and we've got 4 project areas starting about 80 k's east of Julie. These were selected using interpreting the geophysics, and we found a number of large intrusions. One training, one at Coralocking, and a couple at Goddard, and Benjaberring is a long linear one. The Benjaberring project has an amazing similarity to the Julie shape. They're both about 25 kilometres in length, You can see this project bends around, even has a notch similar to what you see at Julie. So that's
Oh, wow.
pretty amazing correlation.
Yeah.
The magnetic amplitude isn't as great, but you can still get nickel in areas that don't have magnetic, more magnetic material. So that's one of the 4 projects. Ginger bearing is one of them. We're ready to start on training. We finally got approval from the farmer and the mines department. So we'll be testing this very large 2-kilometre long intrusion, plus a number of smaller ones up here. And that's really what the discoveries are like. So if you go...
Is that, sorry, George, we're running out of time. So I just want to ask you very quickly, is this Julimar lookalike, is that outside of the scope of what Jeffreys are going to be looking like with Lady Julie and Hawk's Nest, etc.?
Well, it's all part of the company, so it would be included at this stage. I mean, some people spin things off. I mean, that's a possibility as well.
All right. George, just thank you. Great update. Just give me a quick summary of why you think now people should be sitting up and taking notice of magnetic. Obviously, with Jeffreys coming on board, it's a pretty interesting time.
Look, I think it's a dual thing. It's the results, the depth extent. Do these truly go deeper? And if they do, then the resource potential is very, very large. The nickel, as we just mentioned, and the potential wrapping up, unlocking the value through the experienced operators like Jeffrey. So that is already kicked off, and it won't be long before the data sets will be starting to go out to these interested parties. So it will be a pretty exciting time moving forward for the company. A little bit different, yet definitely worthwhile doing. All
right. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in June in person, George. Thanks for joining us today at the Virtual Gold Conference, and congratulations on all the progress.
Thanks, Kerry. Thanks again.